What's up, Javier? How's it going, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Back to our weekly conversations. Javier and I usually get together on Friday mornings at 7 o'clock Eastern when we can, and talk about life, talk about things. And something came up, man. I wanted to talk to you about, and that is this notion of quitting versus giving up. I had the awesome pleasure of being on a podcast yesterday, James Quandel's show. Check it out.
Good.
And this very thing came up. I talk about it a little bit in my book because there is a difference, I believe, versus quitting and giving up. And I think quitting is actually a good thing, or can be a good thing.
Yeah.
And just wanted to get your thoughts on that. What comes up for you?
Um, I think quitting and giving up are two terms that are kind of used in the same way a lot commonly, but there's a distinct difference between them. Quitting many times is stopping what you're doing for different reasons. For example, you may have started, you may have taken on a task, a crucible or whatever, for all the wrong reasons, maybe for ego or whatever, and once you're in the middle of it, you realize that you weren't prepared. You could quit because of the possibility of some real danger, physical danger, false expectations, whatever it may be. There's usually, when you think about it correctly, there's usually a good reason to quit. Now, I'm not condoning quitting, especially in school, right? We try to develop the skills, the mental skills, the mental strength, emotional strength, all those things that will see us through to the end of whatever we started. But just for the sake of this conversation, and to distinguish the difference, that is how I see quitting. Giving up is all together something different. Giving up is stopping because of discomfort. Maybe you're in the middle of a marathon or whatever it is that you decided to take on, and oh, it hurts, I'm tired, I'm going to give up. No, you decided, you trained, you did everything you had to do. You can't just give up because you're feeling a little discomfort, or you're not motivated, or maybe some type of adversity, whatever it may be. So there's a distinct difference between quitting and giving up. And then there's a there's a term that maybe you coined it, I don't know, but I heard it from you, which is the old quingery.
Mm,
A lot of people will quit in the middle of something, um, with the excuse that they're hurt. And a lot of times, if you really think about it, when you're in the middle of grinding, an injury may just be some discomfort,
hmm
and so there's that mental thing that goes on where people will exaggerate that discomfort and turn it into an injury, and that's how we come up with a quinjury.
The
So,
quingery. Love that, man.
mhm.
Love that term. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I do believe there's a distinct difference between quitting and giving up. Where I usually try to go with that is having a strong why. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, whether it's a job, maybe it's a relationship,
Yeah.
with your spouse or whatever. But where does that fit in your overall mix of what your purpose is in life, what your passions are, what you stand for, what your principles are,
Mm-hmm.
and what's your reason for doing it, or the reason for being in the relationship, or your reason for that job? Because I've quit a ton of jobs and it's all been for good measure.
Me
Does
too.
that make me weak? No, I don't think it does at all. In fact, sometimes you just got to get comfortable saying no a lot more, because I think as
Mm-hmm.
human beings we have a tendency to say yes to everything, and we only have so much time, so we just have to get better at saying no. And quitting is a form of saying no. There's a really cool book. I haven't read it. I'm going to. It was brought up on this podcast. It's called Dream Big by last author's last name's Goff. Yeah, Bob Goff. And this comes up, and he says that quitting actually gives you the room to say yes to things that actually matter. And I
Yeah.
thought that was like super cool, kind of going back to the things that actually matter, the things that really resonate with you, or at your core value system. So yeah, it's totally cool to quit if it's for the right reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
and hey, things change, right? You got to be able to pivot in life. Seasons change. Maybe you started off on a project, or you started off in a relationship, and you know what? It's toxic now. It's time to go.
Hmm.
So just evaluate those scenarios y'all are in, and figure out if quitting is actually the best thing to do. Giving
Hmm.
up though, completely different. I view giving up as, all right, this is completely 100% tied into what I want to do or what I feel I should be doing with my life. You've got that strong why, you got that strong intrinsic why. It meshes with your purpose, and like there's no freaking way I'm giving
Hmm.
up. Like it's
Yeah.
not happening because adversity is gonna hit.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Every time.
And when you give up on something, it's like those are the ones that always stick with you. You'll always remember those because you probably shouldn't have. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You probably
Yeah.
shouldn't have.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
So that the thought that comes to mind for me is that when distinguishing, now this is after the fact, but they feel different after the fact, and you'll
yeah.
know.
Yep.
You will definitely know because when you quit something the way I described it or the way you described it, I think we're aligned in our thoughts there. Um, it just feels different when you quit. You don't have that regret when you quit for the right reasons. You
Hmm.
don't have that regret. You just you made a decision to pivot and possibly pursue something better, whatever. When you give up, it hurts twice, man. It hurts when you do it, and it hurts again when you think about it. Like
Yeah.
you kind of have that regret. Man, I wish I would have finished this. Man, I can't believe so close to finishing. What I mean? And then you realize that the reasons why you gave up just were excuses. So it feels different, man, and you'll know that. So one of the things we do here at School of Grit all the time is the box breathing, so that we could channel our witness and which is basically sitting back, breathing, relaxing, and observing your thoughts. And once you learn to observe those thoughts, your motivations, your reasons for doing things, those unconscious thoughts or whatever that really motivate you start to realize those, and you start to figure out your flaws and the reasons why you would possibly, the weaknesses or whatever that would possibly motivate you to give up on things. So that's a regular practice for us, and those are just so. As you get better at that, it's just like building blocks. You become more aware, you become more conscious, you become better at things, and you make better decisions based on not based on emotions. You know what I mean? Like when
Hmm.
you're in the middle of something, you learn to not make those decisions based on I'm tired, this sucks, whatever it may be that leads you to giving up.
Yep. 100%. I love what you said there about how you feel different afterwards, and it actually hits
Mm.
you twice
Yeah.
on giving up. And that's where it becomes super important too, to have some sort of debrief or after action practice in your own life, whether it's
Hmm.
for events, conversations you have, stuff like that. It's just good to go back in time, re-examine it, and
Mm.
really figure it out for yourself. Okay, was this a moment in which I quit, or was this a moment in which I gave up? What were the factors? What are things to look for in the future? Because as we all know, a lot of times these things have a natural tendency of reoccurring in our lives in an endless loop unless we do something to interdict them. So
Hmm.
awesome stuff,
Yeah.
brother. Well, that's it from us at School of Grit. This whole notion of quitting versus giving up. What are your thoughts? What are your comments? If you guys have some thoughts on the idea, please post them up here. Love to hear what the audience is thinking. And remember, do hard things.
Yeah.
We're
Good
out.
stuff.